And now to the election chaos in Georgia tonight. 24 hours after polls closed, several races are still too close to call. This after voters in the Atlanta area endured hours of lines and in some cases a lack of voting machines. Tonight, many fingers are being pointed, but the hope is that lessons will be learned for November. Our Steve Osinsami has more.
State and county election authorities in Georgia tonight are pointing fingers at each other over this, the endless lines of people waiting to vote well past midnight.
6 hours out here. That's how determined I was to make it.
In no other industrialized country in the world is it so difficult to vote so often.
Look at this line wrapped around both sides of the church.
Democrats here and across the country are accusing Georgia Republicans of trying to disenfranchise voters.
I feel like maybe it's intentional that it's so difficult to vote in general.
But the biggest problems were mostly in blue counties with election boards run by Democrats. People running the polls didn't know how to use new machines. And in the state's largest county, as blue as the sky, election officials admit that they lost nearly 8,000 requests for absentee ballots. The coronavirus only made things worse. Poll workers, many of them seniors, refused to work the election, afraid they might get sick. And in one county that is majority African American, more than 24 polling places at senior and assisted living centers had to be moved.
And ABC Political Director Rick Klein joins us now to discuss this. Rick, we've already reported that states around the country really are trying to change election rules to adjust to this pandemic. Is this chaos last night in Georgia a wake-up call for what's to come in November?
Diane, if it could happen in Georgia, it could happen anywhere. And there are real concerns tonight that it could happen everywhere. Virtually every state that doesn't already have mail-in voting has been expanding that, and they're doing it in the age of COVID-19. And the concern is we're a couple of months now into the crisis. Georgia learned significant lessons from states like Ohio and Wisconsin that voted earlier in the process. And still, despite the national focus and attention, despite the resources pumped into the state, they still had a meltdown of an election night, and it might be a harbinger of concerns to come in November.
And Rick, it hasn't gotten a lot of attention because there wasn't a high-profile race there. But in Pennsylvania, more than a week after its primary, officials there are still counting ballots. Now, PA is one of those swing states that could actually tip the presidential election. So how messy could this get if results take this long for the presidential election?
That's just it. Imagine the chaos in a Georgia plus the voting problems in a Pennsylvania and multiply that by maybe half a dozen battleground states, and you're looking at the real possibility of not having results on election night that suggest who the next president of the United States is. Election experts I've been talking to, strategists in both parties, say it's a growing possibility, if not a probability, that all of these states changing the laws and all of these complications around accessing the ballot and then counting those votes mean that we are probably not going to know at the end of election night who the next president is. And that, I think, is something that Americans have to adjust to. That's just not something we're used to as a country.
One of the many things we're adjusting to right now. And Rick, I want to talk about the state of the race a little bit as well. A new poll today from Gallup has the president's approval rating at 39%. That's the first time it's been under 40 since last October. And this comes on the heels of a CNN poll showing Biden up 55 to 41%. It's only June. How concerned should the president be?
Well, I think there's growing concern in Republican circles about the state of the presidential race, also Senate campaigns. The president has taken on significant political water in the twin crisis of COVID-19 and the George Floyd killing. And there's no way around that. It is confirmed in every public and private poll. People have been presenting the president with this kind of evidence, with this information. They're hoping to see an adjustment in strategy. Perhaps when he's back on the campaign trail, he's able to turn that around. But these crises have not been good for the standing of the Trump presidency.
All right, Political Director Rick Klein, we appreciate it, Rick. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.